Bye, honey. Love you. Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you and so happy.
Yeah, you're incredible. I'm so proud of you. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Exactly.
Let's go, Clark sisters.
No.
Endow me.
No, literally.
Yeah. All right, I love you. Oh, my bad. She said, shut up, black people. That's on us.
Hello, beloveds. Welcome to Eldest Daughter, a podcast and discovery of what makes a cycle breaker. Per usual, we'll be diving into the experiences, identities, and choices that go in to becoming the kind of person who walks in their own path in their own light, despite the roles that they were given at birth. Today, I welcome my guest, Kia Damon. I'm laughing because she is a clown and also one of my dearest friends.
I am unserious.
Deeply unserious. Kia is a chef. The 2020 winner of Chopped. 2021?
I think that was not. I think it was. I think I did that in 2019.
2019 winner of Chopped.
Yeah.
Revealed in 2020.
Yeah.
And a writer, a gorgeous writer. In fact.
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you.
Community activist.
Forbes.
Everything. All the things. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Nail the credentials, babe. She said Forbes.
New York Times. 16
New York
Black
Times.
chefs changing food in America.
That's exactly right. Talk your shit. Talk your shit. Say
Double
more.
Sag.
Say more. Yeah, okay. No, give me your big
Ass
three.
fat.
Give everybody ass fat's major.
Ass fat.
Ass fat is major.
Yes.
And in person, y'all, I'm shook.
It's
shook.
good.
Earthquakes.
It's earthquaking.
Splash.
My big three. I'm a Sag sun.
Sag sun.
I'm a Sag rising.
Tough.
But before y'all cut me, I'm a Pisces moon. But you might cut me anyway because
exactly,
my Venus is in Scorpio.
That's exactly. So we actually got the big four, you guys. What a treat.
Yeah,
what a treat.
That was an exclusive.
Yeah, totally. You know what? Okay, a part of what I wanted to talk to you about, which is a perfect segue, is that Kia and I both got out of our Saturn returns quite recently. Shouts out to Saturn and Aquarius. We made it, y'all.
Age of Aquarius.
We made it, y'all. And now it's y'all Saturn and Pisces. It's y'all asses
Good
on the line.
luck.
It's y'all ass online. Recently, Kia actually wrote in her newsletter about coming out of her Saturn return. Yeah. For those of you who are not familiar, I often explain the Saturn return as this time between like 27 and 32, depending on when it actually hits, when the planets align, where you're called to actually show up for who and what you say you are.
When you messaged me, like when I asked you how you would describe a Saturn return, and then you replied, and the bubble said, "Do do do," a ray of light came out of it, and I was like, I'm sad. I'm sad.
I'm sad
because the way you spoke directly to it was so incredible to me and so illuminating, and helped me get past the writer's block I was having. Because I was like, I feel like I don't have the language for what a Saturn return is. I can give the adjectives like, or the onomatopoeia, ouch, oof.
Yeah.
Pain, you know what I mean? It hurted. But like the language to really articulate what's actually happening, I was like, who has the language? I was like, my beloved Aquarius, Kendra has
I got you. You know I got you.
Yeah.
I'm ruled by Saturn. I'm a Capricorn rising, Aquarius sun, Taurus moon. So I've got all the Saturn in my chart. Every single day of my life has been a Saturn return.
Yeah.
And in that way, I feel like a lot of my experiences have mirrored the one that we've been experiencing collectively together for the last 3 years, which was this like grand, like, I'm calling you in now. Like, if you said that you're an artist, it's time to be an artist. It's time to make the necessary losses and the sacrifices required to be that. It's time to show up for that. If you say that you are an amazing chef, you better be that. If you say that you're a community organizer, you need to be that.
You need to be that.
And that calling is really challenging. How do you feel like you were called to show up for yourself in the way that you identify with your place in the collective consciousness and within your own life, your relationships over in the time of your Saturn return?
Lord, why'd y'all give this woman a show? Please, please. Why'd y'all give her a microphone? Take the goddamn mic away from her. How was I called? Well, I'm gonna do the Sag thing where I try to talk in my brain,
right?
And hope that it makes sense to everybody. Sagittarius, we just kind of we just always stay in a silly, goofy mood.
Right. We be in a silly, goofy mood.
We stay in a silly, goofy mood very unserious, but also, everyone talks, lucky girl syndrome.
Yes.
The Sagittarius is just lucky girl
It
syndrome.
is.
That's why some of your, some of the most heinous people you find out that they're Sagittarius, and
Andrew
you're like,
Tate.
but why do they keep
Sagittarius.
bringing in the bag?
Right.
Because we're just lucky like that,
Right,
regardless
totally.
of how wretched we may be at the core. And that's just, what I
Right.
understand about my sign. But
all that say that you realized that you were very gifted.
I was very gifted.
Yeah.
But I was kind of there was a lot of work that I wasn't doing and that I honestly didn't feel necessary to do because I still got what I want at the end of the day. Right?
But not necessarily what you needed.
But not what I needed.
Let's
not
talk
what
about
I,
it.
Not what
and that's the inner parenting we got to do.
Not what I needed.
Yes.
So I just started getting my ass kicked with
Right.
all of the things that I thought that I wanted.
Right.
That were bringing me,
What did you think that you wanted? What did you think? Like once you hit, I know that you really hit your stride coming out of being a head chef in traditional environments, like in the kitchen environment, right?
Yes.
And moving away from that, you really hit your stride because you had a sense of freedom.
Yes.
Like you became a food personality, you became a very identifiable and like valued source and trusted source in food.
Yes.
And I think particularly by people who alternatively we don't often see in the food space. We don't see celebrated in the food space.
Yeah.
Even though food is intrinsic to Blackness.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. I thought I wanted to be seen. I thought I wanted to be seen all the time. Hypervisible. And I thought I wanted to be where everybody else, it was very much, Little Mermaid, I want to be where the people are.
Right.
I want to see them.
You wanted them to see,
dancing.
you wanted them to see Kia.
But I was too busy looking at where everybody else was. And because I still didn't know exactly where I wanted to be, I started to project myself into all of their situations, thinking that I wanted to be where they were. And because there was such a disconnect from what I was being called to do, what my ancestors, the universe, my houses were calling me to do versus what I was, silly, goofy, Sagittarius, whatever, doing everywhere else, I started to struggle and it started to feel really empty. And I would chase these highs and chase these accolades and chase these things, and I would get them, and it felt like absolutely nothing at all because it wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. And that's when in my Saturn return it kind of caught up to me because I remember right before I was really in the throes of it, I said I want to do more food writing. I want to do work that I'm not having to tap dance for brands that I really don't care for.
Yes.
I want to create an image of my own that does not depend on if somebody that write the big checks thinks
a
I'm
gatekeeper
thinks I'm the diva and that I should be given what I need.
Which
I was like, T. So I was like,
Right.
I don't want to depend on others. I want that to be for me.
Right.
And the scary thing also about being a Sag.
Yes.
And also
speaking
about being
well, everything is scary about being a Sag.
Everything is scary about being a Sag. First of all,
facet.
I'm scared every day I wake up. I'm scared.
Right.
Right? I don't know what I'm going to do.
Raise your hand if you're scared.
Your hand if you're scared.
I was really scared.
More Sages should be scared, really.
Absolutely.
We're a mess. But one about being a Sag, and then also speaking to, where I've come from. I come from a very spiritual family. Like, I was raised with very like modern Christianity, but I feel like my spirituality has expanded beyond that.
Totally.
I've always been taught that life and death is in the power of the tongue. My friends, will joke around and call me Deaconess Damone. My mom is always like, girl, who raised you talking like that? I speak what I want. And when I'm in a funk and things are going on, I say things and I'll speak literally my own, Jesus Christ, my own fate to me. So when I said all of that, it was from my mouth to the universe's ears, to God's ears. And they said, oh, let it be done. And then pulled the tablecloth from underneath me. And that's where, you had checked in on me when I was fighting for my life in Mexico, and then fighting for my life on my mama couch, wearing a moo, eating Smuckers, little sandwiches. Because I was like, what the hell just happened to me?
Right. But that was a great homecoming, right?
Mm.
It's like you had this experience of getting everything you ever wanted, realizing that it came from performance,
Yep.
right? And performing who and what standards,
Mm.
right? It's like you are such an inherently, I love the fact that you spoke to your spirituality, because I think that that is such an undercurrent in both food creation and media creation for you. Is like
Right.
there is this ancestral connection to being a Floridian, to being the child of Keisha, to being, right? Like
Who
those
is a
things,
Gemini, I must say.
that's tough. That's tough. That's
Somebody.
that's really tough.
One,
Blink
two.
twice if you need help. She's blinked probably 15 times.
Help.
Let's call in child protective.
Help.
Exactly. Child protective for a grown adult woman.
Please.
That's exactly
my
right.
Gemini mama.
No, totally. But now it's like you almost had to call child protective services on yourself, right?
On myself.
That, like, your inner parent had to step in and say, you said you wanted to be seen, but I think you actually wanted to be known. And those are different things. Those are different things. Being seen and being known are different things.
Different things.
Yes.
And I always try to speak to, I feel like I talk until I'm blue in the face about it, but like longevity,
Yes.
legacy, and true impact.
Right.
And in a world now where, in a society, but in a world where everything is just really about, virality,
Yes.
the numbers,
Yeah.
the shiniest, whatever. And that doesn't necessarily equate to substance. It doesn't equate to longevity. It doesn't equate to legacy. It doesn't equate to impact. And that's why also I adore you, the house down, right? Because you know just where to meet that intersection of we're going to get this to the masses because I know what I'm doing,
Right.
but also I'm not BSing you. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I'm telling you this is some real stuff and it lasts. And that's why you are a known person. You know what I mean?
Thank
Not
you.
just
Yeah,
a
I do feel that
seen
way.
person. And having to come to terms with that and especially, thinking about how a lot of food media has changed where it is about what's viral and it is about what gets the things out there. And I was at such a fight with myself because I was like, I don't necessarily want to do that because it doesn't feel true to who I am. But the people are saying this is how I have to pay
And
the
it seems like the only way
bills.
to have what I think I
And
want
and
and what I think I
exactly.
need in order to feel known and in my highest expression of my
Right.
art, right? And like, I think, to kind of reel it back in as well,
Yeah.
I'm interested in the part of you that desired those things and where that came from. So, what were you like as a child? And how do you feel like she shows up today in calling you toward those dreams? What were you like as a child?
First of all, I was cute.
I know you were cute because you're cute now.
I
You're
was-
cute now. Of course. Of course.
I was
cute.
so thinking. If I saw, damn, I was about to say some real shit. If I were to see me as a child right now, I'd give her everything she wanted.
Everything. 100. Well,
I
that's
mean,
what you deserve.
And that's what
And,
I'm
and
like,
now
look
that's
at
what
this.
you're trying to do.
And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm like, but now I look at myself and I'm not as nice as I was. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
of course
you know,
are.
but that's just,
Of course you are.
therapy work. But anyway,
Of course you are.
as a child, to set the scene for y'all, I am the one and only girl from my mom, and I'm the oldest.
Eldest
Um,
daughter original. Right here. She relates.
Y'all should never put me in front of a camera.
No, absolutely not.
I'm a clown.
Absolutely not. Again, she said camera on, I'm performing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the one and only daughter. And then underneath me are, three little boys, three boys, pretty spread out. For a while it was just my mother and my brother and I remember being I actually didn't talk a whole lot. I wasn't very talkative. I was very inside of myself. I like to read alone. I liked to play and touch things. And whenever my mother would tell me to speak to someone or to be or whatever, I just wasn't with it. Unless I was
You
with
said, get somebody else.
yeah,
to
I
do
said
it.
get somebody else to do it. Unless I was with my Aunt Monica. My Aunt Monica, who is like literally mom number 2. Like
Yeah.
apparently I was just like motor mouthing with her, But I what's that thing? It's like she's just in her own little world.
Yeah, totally.
She real quiet, you know?
Exactly. She fucks if you know it for real,
If
she
you know
fucks
what she
with
for
you.
real, she fucks with you,
So do
you
you feel
know?
like what was going on in your internal dialogue? Were you dreamy? Were you were you imagining yourself in a world, or did you feel isolated?
I didn't feel isolated, but I absolutely adored being alone. I loved
Mm.
being by myself. I
Yes.
remember having lots of toys. I had an easy bake oven. I remember I had one of my birthdays, it was Ariel themed, and I
Right.
had like an Ariel tent and all of that. And I had that one little toy where you like stick it in and you boom, and it just goes
Yeah.
like, and I would
Yeah.
just do that by myself, or I would hang out
Totally.
with my grandma and she didn't, talk a
You
whole
know what?
lot.
That
We were
makes a lot
around.
of sense because this Southern Floridian ass woman speaks in riddles constantly. So
Please.
that makes it there's a distinct kiss of having spent a lot of time with an older person, and it's
Yeah.
loving butter pecan pie. It's loving butter pecan
Yeah.
ice cream,
Oh my
loving
God,
oatmeal raisin cookies,
the
and
way I
speaking
was
in
the
riddles.
way I was eating butter pecan ice cream with my grandma, she
Exactly.
would get her instant Folgers and she would have a piece of fried fish and some grits that
Totally.
just would sit there all damn day until she ready to eat them.
Right.
And then I would go in and I would get the Breyers butter pecan ice cream and I would like just start eating out the pecans until she caught me and she was like, "Girl, what are you
I'm
doing?"
screaming.
And I was like,
I'm screaming.
"What? Why you being weird to me?"
Why are you being weird to me? I'm doing
But
what I need to
I
do.
enjoyed being by
Yeah,
myself, and I didn't need a lot of outside validation from others.
totally.
I liked myself, I liked my own company,
Mm,
and that was literally enough for me. I had friends growing up, maybe like a
right.
few. I never was anyone that was in a large friend group. If I was, I can as a
Right,
Sag,
yeah,
I'm
you
like,
could just
"What's getting
navigate
it?"
in it. Yeah, you're so
But
friendly, exactly.
always going through school, I had literally 1 or 2 friends at a
Totally.
time, and that was enough
You're
for
such a
me.
community-based person, like, so much of your work, for example, your work with, like, Kia Feeds People, or,
Mm,
you are so clearly motivated by healing people with food and
mhm,
reminding people of the purpose of communion around
mm,
food, right? And what breaking bread actually means.
mhm.
So, how did that emotionally isolated little girl come to find and understand that community care was important? Like, obviously, I know that you're
Mm,
queer. I think that's an essential part. Queerness is an essential part of community care for sure. Yeah,
mhm. I got that
a
sweet.
little bit, a little bit of
I'm a little
this.
sweet.
She a little. Ooh, this one got a little
I
sweetness
got
to
that
it.
what they say, I got sugar,
Sugar in her tank.
I got
She got some
sugar in my
sugar in her
tank.
tank.
Yeah, I got some sugar in my
Exactly.
tank.
Exactly. Like, how do you think you were called to that? Do you feel like it was out of necessity? Like the realization that if you wanted your needs met, you would have to find it through others? Do you feel
Mm.
like you just knew that that was a source of light as a light worker?
Ooh. I think it happened when I moved to Tallahassee, and that was the first time that I was around a large group of, fellow
Right.
that relied heavily on community to survive.
Mm.
And I think that's when I realized that I need other people as well,
Hmm.
because I was very alone in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. My parents, shout out to y'all, they split up.
Right. They split up as parents do.
They separated. I don't know why a Taurus and a Gemini thought they had any
Should have
business
never
together.
been. And I'm sure
Should
there are many other reasons why they should have never
have
been.
never did that. I love y'all
Exactly.
though.
Hmm.
And I love my
Well,
brothers.
we love them because here you are.
Yes,
Yeah.
and here I am. I love my brothers. Um, but they're split up, and I moved to North Florida, and I was just I was alone. I was dating
Right.
someone at the time, but whatever, baby homosexuals, this is whatever,
Totally.
whatever.
Right, right, right.
But I was very alone in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, and I suddenly saw all these people, going to FSU and being, learning terms like cutie pot.
Right.
I was like, "What's a cutie?"
What's a cutie
I said,
pie? That sounds
What's
fun.
a cutie pot?" Like
Right, what that
learning all kinds of
is.
things and
Yeah.
being like, "Oh, these people need each other in
Right.
order to
And you
exist
saw
in this
yourself in
world."
that.
And I
You were
saw
like, I also
myself in
need
that.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I also need
Because I
you
was
actually.
also coming, very much still coming into my what I know now as my queerness.
Right,
You know what
totally.
I mean? And I was just like, "Oh, I didn't know that these were things that I needed." I didn't know
Completely.
because, my queer experience being home by myself, having my first girlfriend on the
Right.
low ski, I didn't know any of
Yeah,
that. It's very different
totally.
back home for me.
Totally. Well, and as an eldest daughter, there is such a challenge in trudging through the expectation of showing up for your own needs because you know the limitations of the people around you. Like you knew the limitations of your parents, of
Oh,
having a single mother. It's like,
yeah.
and you eventually come to find that being able to vocalize needs and also being around people who can do that as well
Mhm.
is like what creates trust.
And I'm still now on the horizon of 30 in a very healthy, loving relationship with
Shouts out to
incredible
that.
shouts out to that. Hey baby.
Hmm. Hey, baby.
Shout out, hey baby. Um with incredible chosen family like yourself,
Mhm.
and so many others. And like I'm only now learning how to articulate my needs instead of just playing the assumption game where I
Right.
already assume what everyone else can do for me and I take away their agency to help me. So
Totally.
I just never ask or I bottle it all up inside until it comes out like a little ugly thing. And then
Right.
everybody around me is saying, now why am I in it? Where did that
Totally.
come from?
Yes.
And I'm like, well, you couldn't be there for me. And it's like, did you ask me to
Where'd
be
you
there for
ask me?
you?
Where'd you ask me?
And I'm like, well, the figures of you in my head
Right, the
told
story that I
me,
told
yeah, the story
myself.
that I told myself was
Right.
that I am a burden for having
Yes.
needs. No one will
You would
ever
run
meet
away
my
from me.
needs. You're gonna run away from me, and you don't have the capacity. And I've been told over and over and over again by people, and I'm really working hard to make sure I internalize that. Is just like, if that's where you're feeling and that's where you're at, okay, work. But please understand that you cannot take away other people's agency like that
No.
to show up for you. And
Well, particularly if
that's
your goal is to have loving
if the goal is
relationships
to have
and
loving
to feel loved and to
relationships.
feel like you can grow in having needs.
But what scares me still
Yeah.
is me asking someone for something and they say they
They
can't.
say no.
And that is so, even though
Yes.
people have limitations, people have things that they can do,
And they will
whatever,
say no
and they
for
will
whatever
say
reason.
no. But that scares me so much because then it will, what's the word, fulfill this idea in my head that
Yes.
the
That's exactly,
self-fulfilling prophecy of
and
it
that it's
all.
about you and
And it's
not
about
about
me.
them, right? Like not
Exactly.
that that is something that I don't think all of the buzzy therapy language right now in media is like speaking for
Mhm.
is the fact that like beyond the ability to finally learn how to ask for your needs, that on the other end you will have limited human beings in the same way that you are limited, people at their capacity,
Mhm.
especially like right now. It's like we are continuing to trudge through a global pandemic,
Talk about
right?
it.
Like people are unemployed, people are getting laid off every single day. We
Mhm.
have a race war going on constantly, right? Like, and then
Constantly.
just the constant and underlying like echo of white supremacy and capitalism and
Mhm.
transphobia,
Transphobia,
right?
homophobic,
All of those
racist,
things.
all of it.
Exactly. It's like it's always existent. And so like if we want people to show up for us, we also have to be okay with their limitations in the same way that we have them,
Mhm.
and recognize that a no doesn't mean that they're saying no to me. I am
Yeah.
asking you for something and you're being honest with me that you cannot show up for it. It doesn't mean that you hate me or that
Right.
that need doesn't deserve to be fulfilled or served.
Exactly. And when you grow up
Mhm.
in a way where the people who are rearing you don't know how to articulate their limitations and understand their limitations.
Right.
So a lot of times you just feel you've just been emotionally I don't want to say neglected, but just not being able to be emotionally filled in the ways that you
Yeah,
really needed to be
totally.
as a child and growing up. And then you're also, these are your parents, these are the people that are supposed to rear you. So that already sets the precedent for what the world is, how you
Mm,
can interact in it, what you will get, what you won't get, and how you need to,
totally.
size yourself in order to exist. That when I talk about, being a child and how we're adults, I talk to one of my best friends, Terrell, about this all the time. It's just like a moment for our parents that they probably done god dang forgot
Yes.
is forever for me. It's my life.
Right.
I am a child. this is all I know. You
That's
the one that
exactly
gotta tell
right.
me what the world is given.
Yes.
And I look at my parents, you are my world.
Right.
This is the ecosystem that you create for me. So being in that and receiving that from people who needed their own help as well, it hurts.
Of
It's
course.
exhausting every day. Like, and not every day because I try not to think too deeply every day because I don't think that's healthy.
Right.
But like on occasion, on most times,
The days when you wanna show up for
this
the
shit
work.
hurt.
Yeah, that shit hurted.
That shit hurted
100%.
because now we're trying to
Completely.
look at each other and love each other and be friends
Yes.
and be a community and all of that. And I'm like, damn, I gotta look at somebody and be like, yeah, I know we in a romantic relationship,
Right.
but this thing happened with my mama, and that's why I'm tweaking.
Right.
It is just
Yeah.
like, I'm
Totally.
sorry, like, hey, this
Right.
thing had happened
Right.
with my dad, and that's why my work ethic, I'm bonkers. I work, I don't take care of myself. It's
Yes.
exhausting when it all leads back to that. And now I'm trying to
Mm.
live in this world as the one and the oldest, the
Yes.
only daughter.
Totally.
Sometimes I just be like, man, I just want to cook and be by myself in a cabin somewhere and not
Mhm.
interact because
Right.
I'm tired.
Completely. Well, and maybe self-preservation is like my therapist talks about this a lot. She's like, you have to create that safe space for yourself. Like
Yeah.
energetically, that's your home.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, like, if that's how you feel comfortable moving throughout your career, like you're only going to become more visible, more successful, more beloved,
That's
more
the tea.
known.
Yeah.
Right. It's like that I believe in you because I know how talented and special you are.
Thank
So
you.
it's like, if that's the case, you'll need to feel, in order to be the artist and the creative that you are, it's like you'll need to feel that connection to your food and to your home and belonging within
Mhm.
yourself, regardless of where you are. And that is the true challenging. I think the most challenging
That
obstacle,
is the most
right,
challenging
is like
obstacle of it all.
acknowledging that you are the home and you are the belonging.
Mhm.
Um, and showing up for that parenting in a way that like you haven't seen before, which is hard.
Whew.
So how I'm very, very curious about this because I spent a considerable amount of time in the South, but I was not raised in the South.
Yeah. Sorry, what
How
was that?
how are like the standards of like Southern hospitality and kindness and like all of those things? How has the Southern way of being impacted you as a a Black woman and a visible Black woman, and also I think in particular a Black woman operating in the food space? Like to me, it makes you gold sealed. I'm like, oh, she from Florida? Well, I know she cooking.
No, yeah. So what I will say, being from the South, I cook down.
Yeah, we know that.
Full stop. You
Right.
know what I mean? I do what needs to be done. I cook down.
What are your favorite
I know how
childhood
to eat.
recipes?
Ooh.
Like when you imagine yourself, sorry, I'm thinking about like when you imagine yourself in that home, how
My
many of those childhood
dad's
recipes are coming back to you?
I just actually pitched someone, a pitch email came through and I was like, I want to write about this. But my dad's spaghetti.
Mm.
So when
Because we got spaghetti in there.
we got spaghetti,
We got spaghetti in the
there's
house.
spaghetti in the house.
Yeah.
So when I say my dad, I also want to like give more insight into my family dynamic. So I didn't know my biological father
Mhm.
until I was like 16 years old or something like that, maybe 15. My mama found him on MySpace and said, "Want to see him? Here you go." I said, "Hey."
That's crazy. You said,
Right.
is that Tom?
Wait, I said, "Tom? Look, that's you? Darnell, that's you?
That's my dad?
Darnell, that's you?" But since I was in the second grade, my mother at the time was dating who I call Mr. Paul.
Mhm.
And Mr. Paul has known me since I was, yeah, probably like first grade. They married, I think, third grade, and have been separated, divorced for some time
Mhm.
now. But that is essentially my father when I talk
Right.
about my dad,
Right. Yes.
And he wasn't, in my opinion, growing up, he wasn't the greatest cook, but he would try.
Yes.
But he would make spaghetti, and he would make it in a particular way, but he would get these sausages, cut them up into half rounds, and I would come in the kitchen with him and just watch and be hanging around, and he would sizzle the sausage until it was just like beyond crispy. I
Mhm.
remember the first time I watched him do this, I was like, "What are you doing?"
Right.
I was just like, "What does this bald-headed
Right.
man do?"
You're like,
You
I ain't
know?
trusting it.
Yeah, I said, "What?"
I ain't trusting
But
it.
it would smell so good. And
Right.
because of like my own traumas with other men and father figures and things like that in my
Right.
life growing up,
How can I trust you not to
I
fuck it
was
up?
terrified of being, like, alone and close to him, you
Mm.
know? And it was very awkward for me a lot of times when he would cook. It felt kinda safe. You know how you see when people lay out traps for, like, feral stray kittens,
Yeah.
and they see the food and they like
No, not you being the feral kitchen.
I
Not you being
was.
the feral kitten in the
I was the
situation.
feral kitten in the
Right,
situation because
right.
I was just like, I've been on the streets, I've been hurt, I don't trust men at all, especially father
100%.
figures. And then this man is
Do you
like
feel like he was
cooking
aware of that?
spaghetti. Yeah, he knew. Yeah, no, he
Yeah.
he knew that
It
because there were
it
things that we had talked about and stuff within, interfamily
Yeah.
stuff in which he was very well aware
Right.
of the things that had happened
Right.
to me. And I don't think he really knew how to really address that either
Totally.
and like build
Right.
that closeness with me despite what
Yeah.
I'd gone through. Um
And cooking for you and with you is part of that.
Exactly, and I
Yeah.
do feel like it was part of that, so he would cook and he would make that crisp of that sausage, he would let me get some pieces off the paper, he would cook them and make the
Let you steal away some
spaghetti,
of
let
that
me steal
goodness.
away some of it, and then he would, make his Kool-Aid where he would, like, put 2 packages of flavoring together and, like, create this whole new thing, it was so
Oh,
wild,
he was going off. He was going off recipe.
he was
He was going
going
rogue.
off,
And that was from the
he
heart.
said,
He said, "I'm
"Cut the
cooking from the
cameras."
heart."
Yeah.
Exactly. You only getting the secret
He said, "A
sauce.
teleprompter? I don't need this. I'm eating." But he would make that spaghetti, and to this day, I love that damn spaghetti. And thinking about Father's Day and
Right.
thinking about parents and relationship, because now, a lot of my relationship with my father has changed in beautiful ways. My mother as well, all of that. I've been thinking
Totally.
a lot about it. And um, I love that. I love that spaghetti. And
Totally.
I want to feel closer to my people.
Right.
I do.
Right.
So I'm trying to let
One, it
some
sounds
shit
like
go.
that's a reminder of your ability to build trust again,
Yeah.
even after hurt. It's like that
Yeah.
spaghetti and trusting that even though he's burning the shit out of them sausage quarters,
But
that
it was
like
so
exactly that in the end it'll feel
good.
like love. It'll taste like
It'll
love.
taste like
It'll be nourishing and
love.
nurturing to you. And
Absolutely.
because you let him do that for you, you
Mhm.
guys were able to forge that connection.
And then he would put that Texas toast and
Oh,
I
the
would
Texas
put that
toast,
spaghetti
baby.
on that
With
Texas
them fake
toast
parsley, with them fake parsley
with the
flakes.
fake parsley flakes.
That's
And I put
huge.
that Kraft Parmesan, whatever the fuck
Yes.
it is. And I
Yes.
get a big old cup of fucking Kool-Aid and my
Right.
itis.
Right.
I was gone. But to spin the block on what you were saying about me being from the South and have those things, affect me now. One, I can absolutely cook. But also I feel like I've been really settling into a no nonsense approach to my work that you can really find in the South.
Mm.
People in the South, they not gonna do nothing they don't want to do. Period. And
Unmoving.
there is no rush to do anything.
Ooh.
And in a lot of ways, they're like, my life is what it is, and I like it the way that it is. So why do I need to be asked to change to
Right.
go in another way? I like what I have. I like what's going on right now. I don't have to be nowhere. I don't have to do nothing. Whatever. Also, and I think the heat does that to you where you just kind
Exactly.
of
You have to sink into it. You're
you
melting.
sink into it and you're
How can you
melting and
move
you're
quickly
moving
when you're
slow.
melting?
And you'll try to move fast and everyone around you's like, where you going?
Exactly.
We chilling.
What you getting to?
Why you moving so slow? It's gonna be there when it's supposed to be there. And that has
Wow.
really like I worked against it when I moved out here because everyone was
Mm-hmm.
moving fast and I understood I had to pick up the pace. But now that I'm in a place where I feel like I have much more autonomy, things are, much more stable, I'm much more tapped into myself and my
Right.
community, I be chilling. I just look at emails and I'm like, no. I look at work and I'm like,
That's not for me. That's not for me right now.
no, I don't feel like doing I
No.
don't want to do. That's my favorite
No.
thing. No. With the
With
heart.
love. No.
With love. No.
You know what I love about that? This last year, one of kind of my main points of work has been around slowing down the pace of my life so that I can respond instead of reacting.
Talk about it.
And there are a couple of things I want to say. First off, is I feel like there's this pompousness with like northern, like hyper educated liberals
Oh
who,
yeah.
who throw away the South and throw away Florida and throw away these places where there are overwhelming Black communities and also like American culture exists there. So let's
Absolutely.
not be so quick to just throw away people because you don't understand them.
Right.
But also like, we're so much more, I think, particularly in New York, it's so deeply entrenched in the productivity of capitalism, right?
Yep.
And the obsession with placing our self-worth in productivity and capitalism.
Mhm.
And that doesn't exist as much in the South where we also label those people like slow and dumb and lazy.
Mhm.
And I don't think that's a coincidence that these
No.
huge populations of poor and Black people, right, who are also creating these rich communities
Mhm.
where community care exists and where safe spaces for like actual communion to exist, that we're just
Mhm.
throwing those people away,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But this year, a lot of my work has been centered around slowing down the pace of my life so that I can respond instead of react. And I came to this understanding that when I feel triggered or traumatized by the conditions of my life, whether it's in a relationship, a friendship, in my career, that I feel like I don't have enough time, right? And that
Mm.
the best of life will pass me by, and that,
Mhm.
you know, if I wait to respond, that I'll have missed that chance at having everything I ever wanted, whether it's a relationship or love. And a lot
Yes.
of toxic environments make us feel that way, right? Like I remember serving in restaurants for years,
Yeah.
and they always tell you we're a family here.
We're a
And
family.
you know
When you're
from that
here,
moment
you're
exactly. And
family.
like we need you to be quick paced and we need you to think for yourself. We need you to be independent.
Mhm.
And I realized that a lot of those environments echoed like what I was raised in, which is like
Yes.
we're quick paced and you got to be independent. You got to do what you need to do.
Mhm.
And when you don't see that that need is being fulfilled, or when you don't see that that place to nurture and to provide and to send shit out to the table, like when you don't see that anybody else is doing that, you need to do that.
Yep.
And it's so interesting as I stepped into my adult life and had these first jobs, it was like very much mirroring that relationship with my family,
Mhm.
where I just knew it was my time to assume the role if nobody else was going to do it. And I had to do it quick, fast. Otherwise, everything would crumble.
Yeah.
And I still am undoing that reaction to feeling like if I don't do things quick, fast, everything will crumble. And I'm
Whew.
realizing now that like my glory, my joy, my imprint on the world, and when I say the
Mhm.
world, I also mean just my community, the people around me, the people that I love, the people that are pouring back into me in my
Yes.
art. Like if I don't actually respond with the softness and with the leisure that being truly happy allows, I will have been doing myself a disservice.
Tour.
Tour.
You tore that up. Whenever I go home, I I'm faced with the fact that everyone is just moving at a more sustainable pace than I, and that whatever I have going up, here in New York is just not really, it's not giving.
Mhm.
And I do know that I want to stay in New York for some time, so I've been thinking a lot about how to create a sustainable life as far as my energetic output and
Mm.
what I choose to respond to, what I don't and whatnot. And it feels bonkers for lack of a better word, because I feel like I'm literally
Bonkers
go
is perfect.
bonkers. Thank you. I've been using it so often lately. Um, because it feels like I'm literally moving against like the grain, against the
Mm.
current. And it's just
And
like,
you are.
oh my
That's part of
God.
breaking a cycle.
That's part of
You
breaking the
are.
cycle. And it feels, and sometimes I'm like, it feels like this is more work than to do the other thing. And I'm like, no, as if I go back to what I was doing before, I'm going to be grouchy. I'm going to be mean. I'm going to be tapped out. I'm going to be at my limit.
Mhm.
I'm going to be in everyone else's business, and I'm going to start projecting. I'm
Mm.
going to get far from who I am. I need to move against that grain, against the pull to do everything all at once, and be everywhere and all of that.
Yes.
And to just be in my own softness and my own pace, and to reach for the things that are going to bring me the most release. And I also remind
Mm.
myself that up until now, first of all, I've not gotten here by not going against the grain. And I've
That's powerful.
survived everything that has come my way that I thought, well, this is it. And I
Yeah.
survive it every single time. So nothing
You have proof that
up
you're capable.
right, I have proof that I'm capable,
Yeah.
and nothing up until now has been, an easy thing to do, but I've accomplished it. And
Yes.
I'm not, I am meant for a life of ease, but I am
Say that
not.
again.
I am meant for a life of
Say that one more
ease.
time.
I am meant for a life of ease. And I'm
That's it.
also capable of doing the not easy things in order to get that.
Mm.
So holding all of that together has felt really incredible. And really transformative and has really brought a lot of peace to my spirit, even when I have those moments where, like, we've talked about the other, where I was just like, I don't feel like I have any spirit right now,
Right.
or I'm just so tired. And but the difference, is that I have people now that I can say, "Hey, I don't
Mm.
have any spirit. Hey, I'm
Yes.
really tired.
Yes.
Hey, this is
Because
happening."
they've got it for you, and that's
Because they've
expected.
got it for me.
They've got it for you, and that's expected.
Yeah.
Like, I don't wanna be a superhero in anybody's story, including my own. I wanna
Mm,
be a person in my story,
mhm,
right? Like, I want to be a human being who is
mhm.
flawed and so gorgeous and, like, mutable, shifting, changing. I want the space for that, and I wanna be with people who
Yes.
can let me do that.
And I just had a thought in my brain that connects me to the question you asked about how my Southern upbringing relates to me now. And food, a lot of folks, in the South, we get that mammification, that
Yes.
Aunt Jemima thing, this asexual, genderless, whatever being that's just
Right.
works and
Yes,
is
and a moral
just happy
compass,
go
right?
lucky.
Is a
Yeah, and a
moral
moral
compass,
compass.
and
That
everybody feels held in the nurturing and warmth of being in that
exactly.
person's presence, but they don't get return. They're not something to be fed
Exactly.
into.
And I have very much felt empowered and moving against that because people think, oh, kids from the South, Southern Belle, she
Right,
gonna be so sweet and gonna be so nice. And
right.
I feel like I'm goddamn Logan Roy. I'm like, well, fuck off. And people are like, they're like, what? And I'm just like, no,
That's that sad
I'm not being
sugar.
nice to you. No,
100%.
I'm not doing this for no money.
Right.
No, I'm not doing this for any kind of a charity sorts unless this is actually my
I'm not
direct
doing it for
community.
exposure because the
I'm
only thing
not
you're
doing
exposing
it
me
for
to is poverty.
exactly exposing me to poverty, babes, that I can go home for
Exactly.
that. It's like I'm moving against that because people expect me to be that way. And for a lot of my life I was, and for a lot of my early career I was. And then I was just like, actually, there's this other part of the South, which is why we can't be wiped out. We
Right.
can't be crushed, which is why we are so resilient, even in the wave of just all of the horrendous politics that are coming out from white supremacists and the anti-transits and everyone coming down, is that we don't give a fuck. We don't take no shit. And you can't
Yes.
make us do nothing we don't motherfucking want to do. So
Totally.
I also embody
Right.
that spirit in my work and in
Yes.
my way of being. And I'm
Yes.
just like, I
When
ain't
those are
doing shit.
boundaries. That's not coldness. That's not meanness.
No,
Those are
yeah, those are
boundaries.
boundaries.
And I really love that. Like people, I have come to realize that the people that I trust the most are seated in a position of authority in their own energy.
Mm,
They are not running out of their own energy to come and find my approval,
mm,
which I think in a time when I was chasing approval myself, I always wanted to kind of interact in those dynamics where either I was proving to somebody else that they needed me, or when somebody else was proving to me that,
yeah,
they deserve to be in my
they
life.
deserve to be in your life
That's
and you needed
exactly
them.
right. Totally. And I was constantly in this like runner chaser dynamic.
Mm.
And I often repeated in my head, like, that typical, like, I'm an empath and I'm right. That victimization of like, I'm an empath and I'm so soft and I'm so good and I provide. Why can't people provide for me? And
Yeah.
like, why is it they're never kind to me? And why are they not soft to me? And I realized that like, I wasn't soft to myself.
T.
I wasn't an authority for myself. I wasn't providing for myself. I wasn't allowing room for me to be poured into. And to what you were talking about earlier, I wasn't allowing space for people to love me.
T.
And so it wasn't a shock at all that when I didn't have porous boundaries, nobody else had them for me. And nobody else had like that tender landing space that I needed because it was me. I
Mhm.
needed to be that for myself in order to find that likeness, right? It's like almost that like Goldilocks
Yeah.
energy, right? I was like
Mhm.
trying to find that just right.
You're like, "What's just right for
Yeah,
Lights?"
totally. And it's like, well, that mold is created by my own loving and nurturing for myself.
Mhm.
That also comes from like, I think something that feels and is similar to the home that I was grown into. It's not a complete and total rejection of that.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about, kind of the context of loving you is that it does like your southern upbringing is so clear. Like your upbringing as the child of Keisha and the child of Mr. Paul.
Mr.
Mr.
Paul.
Paul is so clear, right? And like that I think that speaks to the fact that cycle breaking and stepping into a role that you want to play as an eldest daughter is not just rejection, it's also ownership of the things that you're entitled to, right?
Absolutely.
The strength and the poise that you're entitled to and having that upbringing is still a
Mhm.
part of you. right? And so it's not all just friction.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like hard to come to terms with. I love that you said earlier, like I was born for peace and ease, but I can do the hard things. And it's about like rejecting that sense of lack that comes with not wanting to do the hard thing. Right? It's
Mm.
like I can do the hard things, but I don't need to make it harder for myself by not being soft, by not being vulnerable. I don't have to
Exactly.
make it harder for myself, but by also, not parenting myself, by not paying my bills on time, by not doing like all the things that
That
you
was too
eventually,
loud.
here's the thing is like
That was
ultimately,
too loud.
but we don't talk about it. It's like when
But
you're
we
not
need to talk about
nurtured,
it. Yeah.
when you're not nurtured, you eventually learn how to just not nurture yourself, even in the ways that
Mhm.
are challenging but not impossible, but while also making your life so much more difficult because you won't parent yourself.
Exactly. You know what song has been really in my core for a while? Bag Lady. I have been singing Bag Lady over and over and over again and thinking about what I would like to, why things just feel so heavy
Yeah.
sometimes. And then I realized, there's a lot of shit that I just picked up from childhood, from
Yes.
adolescence up until now that I've told myself that I can't let go of. This is who
Right.
I am. Like we said, if no one knows that I'm carrying this, and how will they know that I'm in pain, and how will they take care of me, and how will I whatever? And I'm like, girl, let it go
Yeah, let it go.
and get over it. I
Loser.
let it go and get over.
Exactly.
I'm just like I'm literally sometimes my favorite things to tell myself really these days are one, get a life. Whenever I'm
I
feeling
love
like,
that.
oh, I tell myself to
I've
get a
heard you. You've
yeah,
told me that. And you've told yourself that, and I'm
yeah,
obsessed.
get a life, get a life. And then quickly. And then I go outside, get some bubble tea, I go for a walk, or I pick up on a
Right.
language lesson and I get a life. And then I
Totally.
tell myself, Kia, let it go,
Yes.
release it, let it drop it, and then step over it
Right.
and move forward because
Yes.
this is no longer serving
Right.
you. And if you really want to feel that floating into this big old
Mm-hmm.
body of water and just can't be moved by anything, then I gotta let that bullshit go and I gotta get over it
Yes.
and step
That's your
into
life
something
raft.
else. And that's really me.
Yes.
I love it. I love telling myself, I'm like, girl, get over it. Because if it was left up to just me and my brain,
Right.
she said, you gonna suffer. You
You
gonna
gonna
suffer. I'll suffer if it's left up
Exactly.
to Miss
Totally.
Mama's, because that's
Right.
all she knows. That's all we know.
Well, that
You know
kept
what
you
I
safe
mean? And that
for a
kept me
long
safe
time.
for a long time. And now I
Yes.
have to tell myself I need to let go and I need to
Yes.
get over it.
And you are special and important, and people will see you even if you're not addicted to that suffering.
I
Even
am
if you're not
struggling
sharing.
with this mic. Sorry.
It's not struggling with you, girl. It's picking up everything. It's
Oh
hearing you.
Lord, it's just
It's
I'm
hearing
just
you.
moving around.
The
It's
mic, the camera,
it's
it all
the
loves you.
ass. It's the ass.
Ass.
Because if I move
Is there
another
enough room
way,
for the mic and the ass in the
I
same
don't
place?
think so. It's just when I move, the weight of the ass moves on its own, and then I shift side to
Your
side.
ass does have a
And it's
gravity. I
hard
will say
to.
that.
I
It
have
be
to
rocking and
strengthen my.
rolling
I gotta
me.
strengthen my core. I got too much ass to be just flopping around like a fish.
Right.
But actually,
Right.
fish are much stronger, so maybe a sea cucumber.
I'm not familiar.
You know?
So I'm not familiar.
All right.
I'm not familiar.
All
I
right.
am obsessed though. So what would you say is 222 on the clock, which I'm obsessed with? What would you say? I'm not going to ask you what you wish for, but I know.
Just know that my birthday is 1122, and this last birthday was 112222.
See,
It's incredible.
That's spirit blessing us right now. What
What
would
you
you
gonna say?
say
Yeah.
if you could mix up 5 ingredients? If you can mix up 5 ingredients that make a cycle breaker, what's the recipe?
Oh man, I was about to say, don't ask me about no damn food, man.
I won't. I'm not paying you for that.
Thank you. Exactly.
I'm not paying you for that.
Exactly. 5 things that make up a cycle breaker.
Yes, for you. On your
For
personal
me.
experience. Yeah.
Ooh, cha.
It could be light, it could be heavy, it could be specific, it could be
I think a cycle breaker. Is someone who is not afraid to call themselves out.
self-awareness.
Self-awareness. There we go. I call myself out all the time.
You sure do.
Sometimes too
I've seen
much.
that. And I love the fact that you do it with me.
Yeah.
That's something that I think is really special. I love the fact that like you're allowing me to love you by reminding me what it is that you want to improve on, and that way I can hold you accountable to that.
Which
to
you
be
do.
the best Kia.
Which you do.
Yeah.
I love that. Yes, the self-awareness. A cycle breaker needs to be someone who doesn't turn from love. Don't turn away from love. You cannot do that platonically, romantically. Hold those in the same realm. Those are
Mhm.
those are of the same importance. I'd never prioritize one over the other.
Mhm.
And that has gotten me to where I am. I'm in love with all of my friends,
Mhm.
right? Cycle breaker needs to be someone who practices self-preservation, sleep when you need to.
Mm.
Put that phone on D&D. You know my phone stay on D&D.
Sure do.
No, I love it.
Cannot be reached.
And it will never change. People can reach you, but they can't at the same time. And I
That's
love
right.
that for me because I'll make myself too available.
Yes.
And then
Which is a pattern that we're trying to
I'm
break.
taking care of people.
Yeah.
And then I'm stressed and then I'm resentful.
Right.
And whose fault is that?
Yeah. You're like, I'll show up.
It's
I'll
my
show up to
fault.
this when I have it for you.
Exactly, when I have
Yeah.
it for you. The fourth one, I think a cycle breaker should be someone mm, who laughs at themselves and
I love
others.
that. That's you.
That's
That's the
me.
spirit of you.
Laugh. I have this thing that I do that, my therapist has called me on it, my partner's called me out, I'm pretty sure my friends have. But when things are really pressed, when I'm just like, I start laughing. And it's a little spooky at first, and I can't help it, but sometimes I just have to laugh
Yes.
at what's happening. Whether it's something that I'm doing, something that someone else has done, something traumatic that I've seen, I gotta laugh at it because at the end of the day, life is absurd. Humanity is absurd.
Yes.
I don't know how we got here. We're trying to figure it out. I must
It's a
laugh at
key.
it. I have
It's
to
all a
laugh because
key.
trying to figure it out why, I'll lose my mind. So let me
Yeah.
just laugh
We've
at
been
it.
out here for 3 days. We don't know anything.
Exactly. I know
We're
nothing.
figuring it out.
Exactly.
I
So
love it.
laugh at yourself
That's hard
and
for me to do.
laugh
I love
at
that.
others. And then the last thing for a cycle breaker, mm, I would say that someone who you need to, what do you need to do? Someone who's slow to speak. And
Mm.
I say that in the sense that I am speaking to being reactionary.
Yeah.
I am slow to speak, even sometimes in my cadence or when I'm on the phone and I literally be like, oh, I'm trying to say that, because I'm
Mhm.
always taking in information
Right.
and I'm taking the time to see other people and
Mm.
hear other people and figure out what is
Mhm.
happening. And I take in everything else that I know about them, about the
Yes.
situation. I start activating from like a very like
Yes.
omnipresent place. I come out of myself,
Yes.
I look at it all,
From
I
perspective.
collect, yeah, and I
Yes.
collect all of my data
Yes.
and I sit with it before I speak because I know once I
Yes.
say these words, I cannot take these words
Right.
back. You
Mm.
know, I once I say these words, like motion is
Yes.
happening and things are gonna
Yes.
start, coming from that in conversation with others and myself. And
I feel that you're intentional about how you're received, but not concerned with it.
yes,
Like, I feel
yes,
like you don't let that stop you from saying what you need to say, but you are so deeply compassionate for yourself and other people about how it's going to be received because that's why you're saying it. You
exactly,
want it to be received.
exactly.
Yeah,
I
and I think
want it
that's
to be
true as a
received.
storyteller, as an artist, as somebody who's like a creator. It's like you have to be intentional about how you're received, but not so deeply concerned with it that you
The
stop
concern,
providing.
because I know my truth.
Right.
I really do. I know my
Totally.
truth because I practice all those things,
Yes.
because I move real slow, because I
Yes.
spend so much time as baby Kia. She spent
Yes.
time with herself, with her easy bake oven.
Yes.
You can't tell me anything that I don't already know because I talk to myself
Right.
all the time and
Right.
I'm aware of myself all the time and I
Yes.
don't shy away from it.
You don't. So
And
speaking of your truth, wrapping this
yes.
up so
Yeah.
succinctly, what is your superpower?
Can I say gorilla grip?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. She got that gorilla.
Wow. Don't put my mom. No, my parents are looking.
I'm putting it on.
Oh, no, I think my superpower is
In addition to having a gorilla grip,
in
what is your
addition to
superpower?
having a gorilla grip and the fattest ass in the world.
Ra-da-da-da-da.
I believe that my superpower is my ability, is my sight. I feel like
Mm,
being able to see people and see myself has allowed me to move from such a true intentional and compassionate place. I have the ability to see. I got that sight.
You do.
I do. I have
MRI eyes.
one eye open when I'm sleeping. One eye, like I can see, you know?
Can.
And that's why don't nothing get past me, even myself.
And even yourself, and you provide yourself the space to see clearly. That way you can show up clearly. And that is so present in my relationship with you. And I think also in the way that the world receives you. Yeah. I love you so much.
I love you so much. And I got you.
You got me a gift? Yeah. See, you don't come to a place of worship without gifts. And that,
no, that's so rude.
Every eldest daughter knows.
I can't come to your home without a gift. That's for you. Like,
stop.
Very sweet.
No, you didn't.
Little artisanal chocolates.
I love candy.
It's a matcha flavor in there, cornflower flavor, strawberry crunch, oolong, calamansi, something else in there.
I received this.
But please enjoy that. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. I love you.
Thank you so much. I love you. Yeah. I love you. Thank y'all for being here. Kia, let them know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Kia Cooks. Twitter, I'm not really on there. Kia Cooks, Langustine Hughes, TikTok, Kia Cooks, YouTube.
All of it will be linked.
Kia Cooks, Substack.
Find that ass on all the links.
Kia Cooks.
That's it. Kia Cooks.
In these streets, maybe. No, you can't find me there.
Don't try to find her.
I don't be in the streets. I love you. Thank you so much for having me.
I love you. And we love you guys. Thank you.
Bye.
See y'all soon.
Mwah.